Some people say that Darwinism became popular because it emphasizes competition, and Western capitalistic society was very competitive, and therefore they liked a theory that also emphasized that. Of course, competition existed before Darwinism, that's true. But I think that the Darwinian theory was accepted in the West partially because it reinforced the idea of competition. And I would go even further to say that I think the Darwinian theory of evolution actually increases to an unhealthy level the whole competitive atmosphere in the world today. The Darwinists, if we take them literally, will say that a human being or any other organism is simply a complex biomolecular machine. And not only are we simply machines made of matter, we are machines made of matter in competition with each other for survival. And this is being taught to practically everyone in the world in the education systems because the Darwinists have a government-enforced monopoly in the education systems. So I think it's not very surprising that our whole worldwide culture has become very materialistic. We're told we are simply machines made of matter, so many people accept that, and their goals in life become very materialistic. Our goals, individually and collectively, are determined by our sense of self. So if, as Richard Dawkins says, we are simply biomolecular machines competing with each other to ensure the survival of our genes, then people will tend to set their goals on that basis, and their goals will become very materialistic. And I believe this is one of the factors that contributes to the environmental crisis that the world is currently facing. To satisfy all of our material needs, people are working hard to produce and consume more and more material things, and that process is destroying the earth, I believe. And I think the way to solve it is to come up with a new scientific definition of what it means to be an organism. And I believe that has to include a conscious self that is different from matter, a conscious self with needs other than material production and consumption. I think if this were emphasized in the world's education systems, we would see a lessening of material production and consumption, which would result in a lessening of the world's environmental crisis. But as I said, not only are the Darwinists telling us we are machines made of matter, they are telling us we are machines made of matter in competition with each other for survival. And I think this is something that contributes to the intense levels of conflict that we see in the world today. We see conflict among individuals, we see conflict among classes, we see conflict among nations, even conflict among religions for not only survival but dominance. Now, conflict is something that existed before Darwinism, but I think the Darwinian theory of evolution, as it's taught in the world's education systems through the government-enforced monopoly that the evolutionists now have is something that contributes to and supports and exacerbates these intense levels of conflict that we see in the world today. If we had another idea, namely that we're all conscious selves coming from some supreme conscious being and we're related to each other, then I think we might see the levels of conflict lessening in the world today. That's what I would propose.